Today we're going to meet 44-year-old Astrodame Victor Glover. Victor apparently has been on the International Space Station for nearly 3.5 months. And as we're about to see in a bit, Victor's kinda gonna give the game away. He's not even aware of it, but he is. With a little bit of help at the end from one of Victor's pals as well. So let's first watch a little clip by Victor. I believe he was speaking to the Vice Secretary the other day, and then I'll come back to you.
Can he see me? Yes. Can he hear me?
It is great to see you, Madam Vice President.
Victor!
I'll just leave it there for now, guys. Looks like the Vice President's got a soft spot for Victor. Anyway, I gotta say, Victor, you're looking in good shape there, fella, for a 44-year-old. Bear with me. Okay, now we got this document from NASA discussing muscle atrophy, which is essentially the breakdown of muscles or the deterioration of muscles when they're not being used. Prime example would be an astronaut in a weightless environment on a space station like Victor. Pause it to have a look. I'm only interested in the bottom 2 paragraphs. Even though muscle mass and strength can be regained once astronauts have returned to Earth, maintaining muscle in space is a concern, especially for long-duration space missions. The only way to minimize muscle atrophy in space is through intensive exercise, particularly strength training exercises combined with an adequate diet. The astronauts on the International Space Station spend 2.5 hours per day exercising to combat the effects of muscle atrophy. But remember, the paragraph above, the only way to minimize muscle atrophy. So they can only minimize the deterioration of their muscles by training 2.5 hours a day, okay? They certainly can't maintain muscular physiques like our mate Victor, the glamorous Astrodame. This is what happens with muscles when they deteriorate over time, when they're not used, like what would happen in a weightless environment. I'm not disputing these astronauts train, but think about how long Victor would have to train to remain buff, like he is, all muscular and healthy. Now here's a picture of Victor before he left the International Space Station. Left for the International Space Station, I'd say. Okay, with his fellow colleagues here, his fellow Astrodames. Here he is on the space station, nearly 3.5 months later. Bearing in mind, when you're in your mid-40s, it's not easy to stay in shape and keep muscular and keep fit. It requires incredible discipline, excellent diet, lots of hard training. But it would seem, strangely enough, Victor looks healthier and stronger and seems to have been doing more training since he's been in space. Rather than deteriorate, it's almost like Victor's been to a health spa. Sorry, you might want to choose people that deteriorate given the stories you tell us, rather than people that seem to get more and more muscular, more and more healthy. It's as if Victor is playing his part in a political pantomime blended with a heliocentric space pantomime. Dear oh dear, these people can't keep their stories straight. They can. So if that wasn't bad enough, Victor and his training regime giving the game away, rather than deteriorate, Victor looks a muscular picture of health. And he really does give the game away. So we thank you, Victor, for intensifying your training program at your villa or wherever it is you're staying, your pantomime villa. Because you look much healthier, much stronger, much more muscular, having been in space for 3.5 months, which is bizarre, me old mate, considering most of your muscles, most of the day, aren't even engaged. So we're going to laugh with you, Victor, at the downfall of the ISS through your healthy regime, me old mate. We love it. And just before we go, let's get your pal, the Japanese fella, to expose this nonsense even more. Bear with me. Now here's Victor's mate, the Japanese Astrodame Noguchi, giving it away even more, this time with a harness, We had Victor give it away with his health regime. We got Noguchi giving it away with his clown show harness. Let's have a quick look at this old video of mine. This is from 3.5 months ago when Victor and Noguchi supposedly joined the ISS. Let's have a look.
Here he comes then. Here comes our mate.
I should add, Noguchi said the SpaceX rocket that he travelled on, right, was the most comfortable ride ever. Him being a veteran of space, okay? So you'll get where I'm coming from, what I say here.
The SpaceX salesman himself. Now look at his back here. See it? Sticking up like that. It's a fucking clown show. Now we gotta ask you, our old mate here, Noguchi.
And I'll pause my previous self there. And of course, Noguchi, in his moment here of pantomime ecstasy, is kind of giving the game away. So we got Noguchi hanging on wires giving the game away. And we got Victor's superior health program also giving the game away. Heliocentric space in the form of spheres flying through a vacuum is scientifically impossible anyway. But when you look at the pantomime that is presented, add a bit of discernment to it, the red curtain comes down on this charade. Dear oh dear.